And welcome back to Saturday Agenda. I'm Joe Pinion. Some new revelations coming to light regarding the cozy relationship between the White House and Teachers Union. Newly published emails show President Biden's Department of Health and Human Services was told to take negotiations involving teachers unions into account when rolling out guidance for reopening schools this past February. In one email dated February 8th, 4 days before the guidance was revealed, HHS official Michael Baker told his colleagues that he had just gotten off a call with the White House and Department of Education regarding the school reopening guidance, and added that we have some, quote, homework assignments. Among those assignments, Baker wrote, was to think about this in the broader context of teacher contract negotiations. We're joined now by South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman and Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Good to be here, both of you. Congressman Reschenthaler, I'll start with you. What in the world is happening here? These are supposed to be public health decisions designed to literally save lives. That's it. There should be no other consideration. And so the people who say trust the science are, again, as your colleague Claudia Tenney said earlier today, more interested in the political science of winning elections.
Joe, you took the words right out of my mouth. This hasn't been about the science. It's been about the political science. In this whole time, from the very beginning of COVID, this has been about the Democrats advancing their far left agenda using, quote unquote, science as their excuse. If you look at the situation with the schools, it's appalling. Future generations will look back on how we handled COVID and mock us, and rightfully so. Let me explain. You had some places where bowling alleys, where theaters were opening up prior to schools opening up. That's absolutely ridiculous. If we can engage in indoor activities such as bowling, we should be able to get our kids back in school. It's also appalling when you look at the actual science, not the political science. Let me explain. To date, there have been incredibly few deaths of younger people, especially those that don't have pre-existing conditions and comorbidities. You actually, in some instances with younger age groups, have a higher chance of dying from, let's say, meningitis. So the odds of kids actually getting COVID and dying from COVID, incredibly rare. Also, vaccines that studies are coming out to show that they actually do not work with kids that are 5 and younger.
Right.
So it's actually dubious that you're waiting until especially younger kids are vaccinated to go back to school. This has been about capitulating and appeasing the teachers union. It's not been about educating kids. And I can just end on this because this is the real sad part, Joe.
Right.
The wealthy, affluent parents, the limousine liberals, as I call them,
Right.
They don't have to worry about this because their kids go to pod schools where they get together with a bunch of teachers, or they get together as a family and they hire a teacher to teach a small group of kids. But if you're working for a living, if you're working in an oil rig, or you're a waitress and you've got kids at home, you don't have the luxury to send your kid to a pod school or sit there and self-teach. So this is real. These COVID measures are hurting the working class the most, as the affluent can have other options for their children.
Absolutely. Congressman Norman, I want to bring you into this conversation because on some basic level, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the manner in which we roll out policy isn't ever impacted by politics. I'm sure that's a bipartisan thing. But if the position of the Democratic Party is that we have an Omicron variant that is so dangerous, we've banned travel to 8 countries, we have practically paralyzed the economy of this nation once again, why in the world is there any input into what policies we're going to have around our children when we've already seen the disastrous impact these COVID policies have had on the learning rate of, to Congressman Reschenthaler's point, these most disenfranchised children? It seems to me almost heinous.
Well, it really is, Joe, and you hit it on the head. You know, the NEA is not supposed, they're not medical physicians in a position from, let's call science, other than the political science when it's pretty obvious with them, to offer any advice. It shows you how this administration is not only cozy, they're in bed with the NEA and with their unions. I looked up the top 20 candidates who received money. Guess what? All 20 were Democrats. Right. And Joe Biden has been in the back pockets of the unions for a long time, and this just shows it. The other thing that's interesting is the influence that the NEA has on the HHS. They hired one of the NEA election experts Carrie Pugh to go on the HHS to be employed by them. And so it just shows you it's the children suffer, as Guy said, and it's ones that can't afford to go to the private schools. And look at the social cost of children not interacting with other children and being out on their own. It's a sad case, and I'm glad it's being publicized now, and the emails are coming out. But it's way too close. It's at the detriment of the children, and the NEA should have no input other than maybe some whatever data they've got that might influence the CDC, but it's certainly not reopening schools. That's the individual school district, and that's the administration's choice to do, and mainly it's the parents' choice.
I want to switch gears quickly. Congressman Reschenthaler, searches the Capitol Hill specifically. One of your colleagues, Congressman Jim Jordan, had apparently one of his text messages grossly truncated by the world-famous left-leaning revered Adam Schiff. Talk to me a little bit about what standard that sets where you have a sitting member of Congress who has truncated a text to make it appear as if someone in Congress is doing something or suggesting something criminal, then reads that into testimony for the purposes of us trying to get to the bottom of what most people have agreed has been a stain on the fabric of this nation. How in the world is that even ethical, much less legal? And why is it that no one seems to be upset about this, but perhaps the three of us sitting here right now?
We remember this actually happened before with the FBI and the DOJ regarding the Trump investigation when Comey went into the Oval Office, specifically on a fishing expedition for Trump. And then even before that, when you had lawyers testifying, omitting documents and massaging documents in order to get warrants. So the left will always put their political agenda and their ideology above legal standards, above legal ethics, and against, frankly, a lot of morality and what we would consider just norms in our society. But yes, to mischaracterize a text message and then use it for political gain is appalling. It shouldn't be tolerated. And the fact that the media, the mainstream media, the legacy media is not focused on this, is not calling for Schiff to be removed or step down as the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, it shows you just how far left the party has gone and how low the left has taken our standards.
Congressman Norman, got about 20 seconds here before we have to pay the electric bill. I'll give you the last word.
Joe, if this had been a Republican misquoting and just taken out of context entirely, look what the media would have done. The Democrats get a free pass, and it's no difference, and this is no surprise.
Absolutely. South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman, Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. God bless you both. We'll talk to you again soon.
Merry Christmas, guys. Take care.